All right, so this is the second episode of South Park that we made called Weight Gain 2000.
Weight Gain
4,000?
Weight Gain 4,000.
But so this was the first episode done entirely by computer, and we were using an early program and just sort of still trying to figure out how this could be done. But this script, basically, we had made the pilot episode. It had tested horribly. Several months went by, and then Comedy Central decided, I think because still there was some heat on the internet from Spirit of Christmas, they decided maybe they should give it another chance, and they paid us to go just write another script. They said, we can't promise you, we're still not going to series, but we're going to, we'll pay you guys to write another script, and then we'll decide from there if we want to do the series. So this is a script we wrote actually during the filming of an independent film we did called Orgasmo. We wrote this one just to sort of give an idea of how different each episode would be. And we handed it in, and they basically said, okay, the script is great, let's go to series. Because we wanted them to commit to more than making one, because they were such
we weren't
a
going to
pain in
do
the
one.
ass
We
to
weren't
make.
just going to do one more
Yeah.
show, because we'd been through that before with even another show we were trying to do. And we were like, if you're going to do it, you have to do 6.
Yeah, because we knew that 6 was an actual series, and it had a chance to, I think with any show, you're figuring out what the show is in the first 6 episodes, and I think that, during actually this whole collection, this whole first season collection, by the end of it, we sort of knew what South Park was, but in here, we really still didn't. The characters were still developing and everything.
Also, we figured we'd just get canceled after 6, so we wanted to at least do 6.
We were sure there was no way we were ever going past 6.
I think we'd have been employed for at least 6 or 8 months if we did 6.
But so now the trick was we weren't going to spend another 4 months cutting out all the construction paper for this scene, for this show, and doing all new setups. And so it was hiring computer people, basically, and setting up shop, which we did in Westwood, and came up with this whole thing. And it really only took a few months, right? We were seeing the first tests within a month or so.
A month or so.
How it could be done. And
It took a long time, though, to find a computer program. And this still looks pretty rough and not that great. But to even find a computer program that could make it look as shitty as construction paper actually took a lot of work.
Yeah.
We ended up settling on one called Alias on SGI Systems, which at the time was exactly the program they were using to do Jurassic Park and The Abyss and all those kind of effects films. We're using that program to make it look as shitty as it did.
Because you can see that there's these shadow layers behind sort of each character, and that's what was so important to it. That's what we thought really brought the show to life and made it look like construction paper. And so we spent a ton of time just trying to get that kind of shadow layer behind people, which again, in just 5 years' time, now that it's 5 years later, would be much, much easier on a computer program to do, and you could probably do it on a home computer program.
Yeah.
But back then, it took probably the most sophisticated animation program there was on computers, and just to be able to do that.
Yeah, so we set up shop in Westwood and hired, we had about maybe 15 animators total.
Yeah.
Maybe not even that many, maybe 12. And now we have 40 working on the show. So it's grown by a lot.
The whole idea, a lot of people were wondering, this was sort of the first pick on a celebrity episode. And just almost like every other episode where we do a celebrity, it was completely random. It wasn't any big need to pick on Kathy Lee Gifford. She was just this random celebrity. Part of what we wanted to do in South Park that really made us happy was the whole idea of deconstructing celebrity, and the whole idea of, which again was also kind of new for its time. It was the whole idea of saying, these people that are celebrities and actors and actresses are actually just a bunch of douchebags. And
yeah, and then we got all famous and we met them and we realized we were exactly right.
Yeah.
They are a bunch of douchebags.
They are a bunch of douchebags. And so that became a running theme in South Park. Is basically if you're a celebrity, you're a douchebag, and the irony, of course, is that we became sort of minor celebrities doing the show, and then became douchebags.
Minor douchebags, just minor douchebags.
Yeah.
But the idea that not just that, like, we're ripping on. We never really thought the joke was ripping on Kathy Lee Gifford. We always thought the joke of this episode was, why does this whole little town give a shit about Kathy Lee Gifford?
Yeah.
Like, that was all the reason in the first episodes, and I think still in South Park, the whole joke we always play is like, you shouldn't care about John Stamos or even his brother. You shouldn't care about Kathy Lee Gifford.
So the whole idea behind Mr. Garrison was sort of a combination of two people. When I was in kindergarten, I had a teacher. I think it was a woman though, but there actually was. I think the name was Mr. Hat, and it kind of looked like that. And I remember that at the time I lived in Nashville. I only lived in Nashville for about a year and a half, but the school systems down there, at least then, were just terrible. And it was in kindergarten, and and we got taught by the teacher would actually put Mr. Hat, a puppet, on her hand, and then put on a record that was Mr. Hat teaching us and talking to us. And that's basically all it was all day.
And then she'd just move her hand.
Yeah, and she would that's the teacher's job was to move her hand. And because the teachers just weren't that bright. And so they knew that this puppet on a record could teach us more. And that's what we learned from. And I remember that so clearly. And then...
the Mr. Garrison's voice was a teacher you had in college.
Yeah, I had a British lit teacher at the University of Colorado, and that is my dead-on impersonation of him. And he would always talk about, it was a Brit lit class, so the first thing we talked about was Beowulf. And he would always talk to us like we were kind of in kindergarten, and he would say, so we all read Beowulf. Now, Beowulf was a big silly, wasn't he? Why did he go fight Grendel? That seems silly. And everything was everyone being kind of a big silly, and we would do the voice, and that became Mr. Garrison.